Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you're calling from. How is everybody doing? Can you hear me okay? Yes? No? Maybe you can put in the chat. Yes, we can hear you, Karina. Loud and clear. Everybody can hear me? Yes? You can put in the chat. Yes? Amazing. Thank you so much. Hello, hello. Nice to see everybody. I'm Karina. Nice to meet you. We are going to give everybody a second to join, and then we will get going. How's the weather where you are? Cold? It's getting cooler over here. We're definitely heading into September, I can say. Yes, Shanda, it's getting colder. Ooh, I know. Well, we will have a great session today. We're going to chit chat about how to take our businesses to the next level with a bestseller. Maybe if you can put in the chat, what do you do just so that I kind of have an idea? Are you a consultant? Are you a coach? Just like in maybe one line, I do X, Y, and Z. I provide X, Y, and Z service because I do this. I teach consultants, doctors, lawyers how to create bestsellers, people in business, entrepreneurs. That is my claim to fame. Oncology counselor, that is super cool and not an easy job. Professional writer and creative strategies for business, creative instruction. Amazing. This is so cool. You guys are cool peeps, man. Maggie, hello, and Sylvia. Both of you, welcome. We are just very quickly going over what we do for a living, just so that I have an idea. I'm Karina. It is nice to meet you. I help experts, right? So consultants, lawyers, doctors, naturopaths, people in business create best-selling books and use those as a funnel into their business. So set it up as an expertise book. So maybe the two of you, Maggie and Sylvia, if you could maybe throw in the chat what you do, just to give me an idea, and then we will go from there. So Aditun, she's an oncology counselor. We've got Chanda, who is a professional writer in creative strategies for business, creative and instructional. So maybe if the two of you could write in there, executive coach, amazing. I'm a speaker in modern leadership tech. Oh, hilarious, Sylvia. You will like what I'm going to say to you today. So without further ado, welcome. It's so amazing that we have like powerhouse women in the house, man. This is like so cool. I love it. You never know which way one of my sessions is going to go. It's always different, that we always have a different vibe, but I feel like today we're going to be able to have some great conversations. I essentially have been in publishing for the last 4 years. I'll tell you a little bit about my story because I want you to kind of understand how this whole thing started for me and why I absolutely love what I do and helping people create a book that becomes literally a royalty generating asset on Amazon that brings you credibility and authority. It's like, that's my jam. Jeff, if you just joined, welcome. I'm Karina. Notice that in the chat, we've had folks let us know what they do for a living, just so that I have an idea. If you maybe could do the same, Jeff, just like in one line, say, hey, this is what I do. So I'm a business coach, I'm X, I'm Z. I essentially help subject matter experts. So I'm going to use the word SME, right? For subject matter experts so that we don't, you know what I mean? We don't keep saying the same thing. So I help SMEs create amazing books, positioned correctly, created correctly, and funnel clients into their business. So, Jeff, if you want to let us know what you do, that would be phenomenal. Notice the ladies have put it all, and we're like a powerhouse of fabulous business people here today. So I started about 4 years ago publishing, about 4.5 years ago now. How this all happened for me, I so I'm in Canada now. I was in Canada. I've been in education my whole life, in leadership, Sylvia. So this is funny. And I used to train in the corporate world here in Canada. I trained for a couple of years, and I had amazing results. I don't know about you folks, but I feel like if you do what you do and you've been doing it for a while, let me know how many years you've been doing what you're doing. So 2, 5, 10. I've been in this business or in education pretty much my whole life, so 20 years, I want to say. I moved out of Canada back in 2005-ish, and I lived in Latin and Central America. So 20 plus, there you go. Uh, and I consulted there. Okay, so I got into the luxury market. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the LVMH group. So it's like an amalgamate of luxury brands. So it stands for Louis Vuitton, Monet, Hennessy, right? So we've got people like Tiffany, obviously Louis Vuitton. We've got Sephora. There's 75 different brands. So I predominantly trained Louis Vuitton, right? I would travel all over Brazil, and I trained. I had a 3-year contract with Montblanc. You know, the fancy pen. So Montblanc calls those pens writing instruments because they're just too fancy to be a regular pen. Which, by the way, when you have a bestseller, you have to get one because it just feels different to autograph your book with one of these puppies. Just saying, you're just putting it in there. Um, and then I also trained Gucci, you know, all those types of people. So I loved consulting. I loved consulting for these brands. We did some amazing work. I was really good at what I did. So I did that for 3, 4 years. And I came back to North America. And guess what happened? I could not get a job. Why? Because my experience was international. And of course, North American, employers were like, well, we don't know who you are here. So it was a bit of struggle to get a job here. I finally found one, went right back into the corporate. And within literally a year, I already knew that's not the road for me. I was super undervalued, underpaid, as you can imagine. I already knew what I could do. But I had to be proving myself all the time, right? Like if people don't know who you are and you have to constantly repeat the thing that you do, and you're consistently, letting them know, and you're training them to essentially give you an opportunity. And I was like, you know what? There's got to be a better way. I'm not going to be doing this. And every time I have to look for a consulting gig, I'm going to be sitting there on LinkedIn trying to build a funnel that I don't want to have to deal with. Because on LinkedIn, you can't, I don't know if anybody's using LinkedIn for sales funnels. You can do some phenomenal ones there. But, and that's a whole other thing I explore in my program. But so I would be doing that. I would be constantly on calls. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted the calls to come to me. I wanted the jobs to come to me. So I was speaking with a girlfriend of mine Colleen, and she just published a book. And I was like, Colleen, how did you do this? And she's like, well, you know what? I use this small publishing house. And I don't know if you've received any phone calls from these publishing houses. I kid you not, every time I speak with any of my clients, they're like, you would not believe how many times I got a call from this publishing house and that publishing house. And the reality of what she did was she published with one of those houses and her book just disappeared on Amazon. I was like, where's your book, dude? I can't even find it. And it was like on page 20 because the issue with these publishing houses is always the fact that when they publish, uh, when they help publish people, these people are generally either famous or they have a huge following, right? So they're a big YouTuber, they have a huge Instagram account. And I didn't have that. To this day, I don't have a huge, following. I don't have a huge Instagram account. And to be honest with you, I'm not interested. I don't want to waste my time, and I certainly don't want to be worrying about building huge accounts just so that my book sells. So I wasn't interested in her strategy, but what did pique my interest is that she was getting jobs. So she was landing gigs. I'm like, you know what? This is the answer. I just knew, when you know that something is just correct and this is the vehicle. So I had already published a couple of books. I was learning how to self-publish on those books. They did not do well. I'm not going to lie. But that allowed me to build a strategy, right? A framework that when I published my book that was filled with my experience and my own expertise and my own methodology and how I trained, that thing went bestseller in 3 weeks. So I was like, okay, I got something here. But I didn't rush immediately to say, oh, this is a method now. I published a bunch of other books and the same thing happened to them. So 15 books later, they were all bestsellers. And I thought, okay, I have something here. I have some kind of a methodology that obviously works. It's a framework. So, the book, because it was always sitting on page one, accessing the right audience, it started to bring in business directly into my consulting. So within the first month, I got a client, which I honestly thought this was never going to happen in the first month, but it did. And that one client sent me 3 other referrals. So I had 4. By the end of month 1, I had 8 brand new clients. So I thought, okay, the book itself is taking time to make money, and that's okay because we need to understand that when we publish on Amazon, all of that takes time, right? It can be 6 months, right? 3 to 6 months for the book to make money. I wasn't worried about the money that the book needs to make or not make. I made sure that I set up the book in such a way that I would get clients into my business. That was my concern. I didn't want to do the outreach. I wanted to be the person that on a Monday morning got a call from someone that said, hey, you know what? We've just had a look at your book. We think you're the perfect person for us. Do you have time this week to meet? And can we set something up for maybe in a month from now? That's the kind of conversation that I wanted on a Monday morning. I didn't want to worry, okay, which kind of funnel am I going to have to, like, is it the 4th time? Is it the 5th time that I'm going to have to, reach out to these people? I didn't want to have to worry about this. I'm a single mom too. So honestly, there just isn't enough time in the day. So my book goes bestseller. Within the first year, though, that book made 25,000. That's not bad. That's not bad. That's just extra income. So the book made 25. I mean, I know books that make way more than that, right? But that wasn't my concern. What the book did, though, is it gave me the funnel that I needed so that my first year, I was in the 250,000 in consulting fees. That was literally double what I used to make in corporate. And that was it. That was what literally made me think, okay, you know what? There is something here. Here's the problem with the self-publishing stuff that people do, right? So whether it's courses, or whatever it is that people use for their publishing, because there's two types of way that you can publish. One is that you have a topic that you search. We call this, proof of concept, where you already know that that book is going to sell because that topic is a topic that everybody's searching on Amazon. So I don't know. Let's name some topics that everybody's talking about right now. Can anybody think of topics out there in the world that people are talking about like right now? Some subjects. AI, beautiful. What else? What is that thing? That diet that everybody's doing where they do the injections, gut health. Uh, GLP, keto. Anybody heard of the GLP where they do the Ozempic and all of this stuff? Okay. So that is what I mean, proof of concept. There are topics out there that will sell. I guarantee it. I mean, if you want me to help you put together a book like that, it's done. Okay. You will make money immediately. But there are topics which are topics that we do. Okay. So subject matter expert topics like leadership, like oncology, like, I don't know, coaching, right? Whatever it is that you do, there are topics that are not essentially topics that are the latest and greatest that will guarantee you income. But when you create it properly, so when you package those topics properly, right, with the right covers and the right titles and the right keywords and all that other stuff, I won't even bore you with. If you package it properly and then you use a marketing method that works, your book will still be on page number one. It will still hit bestseller in a few categories. And let me tell you, when you show up to a meeting or you sit in front of a client and they Google you and they look you up on Amazon and they see that your book is up there and the reviews are phenomenal, that just looks good. And that builds credibility and authority, man, in seconds. That's just one thing that happens. Because when your book sits on page 20 and they Google you or they try to find you and they cannot, that's embarrassing. It does not look good and nobody wants that outcome. And that is what was happening to my friend Colleen. So when my book hit bestseller and she noticed that I started to pump out books because now I have a system and my system works, she called me and said, "Hey, Karina, could you help me republish mine properly?" So let's go, girl. Let's do this right. And I have lots of clients like this who had published with some kind of publishing company, and we ended up fixing their book, republishing it completely because the method is different. It's just different. Um, so because I speak four languages, I mean, what the heck? Because went and I had consultant in Brazil and met a ton of people. I ended up publishing my book in English, so I don't know if you can see. And then I published it in Portuguese, and then I published it in Spanish. Because why not? Right? If you can publish it in any language you want, you can do it in French, you can do it in German. The publishing route is the same, the system is the same, it's just a different language. So what I'll do is I'm going to take you through very quickly. I'm going to share with you how what my methodology is, because I think it'll be very good for you to see. It's going to be super quick, but I'll take you through it and I'll show you how my framework and why my framework is a little bit different than what you would see out there. And then we're going to have some questions. You can ask whatever questions you'd like. If you have questions, write them down or put it in the chat. That way, when we're done here, I will open up the whole floor for questions and we can go through some of your questions. But basically, the framework that I'm going through is specifically done for people like us. This is for SMEs. This is not for your average publisher. Although it works, I just have to tweak it. So in step one for us, we really want the proper topic positioning. Okay. So we need to understand what topics are on Amazon. How do we then grab the one that we're trying to publish? And how do we change it around? How do we extract the right keywords from it that we can set it up properly so that the algorithm actually sees it? This is important because here's what most people don't realize. The algorithm knows how many customers have stopped on your listing, how many have purchased, how many are just looking, and it's counting all of that to understand whether or not your book is good, right? So quality. And where is it going to place it? Is it going to place it higher up on the page or is it going to place it lower? We always want to be high on the page. That's the name of the game. The second thing that I do is I look at the book packaging. This is massively important. So this includes the title, the subtitle, your actual cover, which your customers see and love, or they look at it and just scroll right past. We don't want anyone scrolling past our book. It's extremely important because Amazon counts literally the seconds customers linger, right? We need to be clear about the title and we need to be clear about the audience. So who is the book for? Because that is how we get buyers. And, even if we were to say, look, I don't care about the royalties part, which is awesome, right? Let's not even talk about money because that's even beside the point. The fact that people are buying, the fact that people are leaving reviews, that's a decisive factor for Amazon, whether or not they're going to display your book and for who. It's a massive, massive store. And we're not dealing with a human being. We're dealing with an algorithm. The third thing that I look at is your actual method. How do we put it on paper in a way that it solves your customers' biggest problems, showcases your actual expertise so that you do not have to repeat yourself over and over and over, telling people what you do, and it sells you to the right client. Okay, so that's all in the packaging. That's all in the actual manuscript. This is important because your method is what's going to sell you, but it's also what's going to give you longevity on Amazon. So, there's a lot of books on Amazon that are AI generated and they're absolute garbage. I create books with AI too, but let me tell you, they're phenomenal. So it doesn't matter what the vehicle is, that's just the vehicle. What matters is understanding what your customer needs, how to showcase it, and make them say, wow, that's the person for me. Okay, so that's what we focus on. The next thing that we focus on is marketing and reviews. So reviews are hugely important. Probably everybody that's sitting here knows about reviews and how hard it is to get reviews. It is not when you have a system. When you don't have a system, it is painful and you literally, yes, want to kill yourself doing it. But with a system, it is not. We create a review system prior to even publishing because our goal is to get 100+ reviews in the first couple of months. Okay, that is credibility in the eyes of Amazon. Never mind your customer. Your customer will love it because customers read the reviews. And those that don't read reviews end up making mistakes. So anybody here that bought a product on Amazon without actually reading the review first, the thing got to your house and you're like, oh man, what is this? Because I've been there, done that, got a t-shirt, 100 of them. I don't make that mistake again. I read reviews, right? So we want to have phenomenal reviews. We want to be prepped for them before we publish. So this is why it's important, right? The other thing that Amazon will do is a book without reviews gets buried, period. I honestly don't care how beautiful, how amazing, how phenomenally well done it is. When it has bad reviews or no reviews, Amazon will bury it super quickly. So when we talk about like, what are we going to do? How are we going to get this done? I literally, the easiest way for me to explain this, my process and what I take my clients through is I break it down by months because in all honesty, it takes about 4 months to create and publish a very good book. So in my month one, we review your work, right? What is it that you have so far? What have you done? If you have nothing, even better, because you're coming to me with a clean slate and I take you through the whole process. If you do have a manuscript ready, phenomenal. We work with it. Okay. We improve it. We make it even better. We start with the topic, your genre, where your book is going to live, who are the customers that you're trying to attract, and we work it out from there. So we work on your manuscript. If it's not done, I actually show you how to do it properly, because we're creating educational books. We're creating books that are going to sell us, but also teach somebody something, right? We're always looking for value. Customers are always looking for value. They're always asking, what's in it for me? Show me what's in it for me. Like, what is in this book that's going to make my life easier? In the second month, we focus on packaging because we've got to do it right. So we focus on the title, the cover, the images, the worksheets, whatever it is that you want to include that you believe will have phenomenal value for your client. We involve your existing database if you have one. So a lot of consultants will come to me and, with a database, some of them have a couple of thousand people in the database, some have patients that are in the database. So we absolutely use that database right from the beginning and we get them hyped up about the new book that's coming out. So that's one way that I will strategize and market your book. Okay. Then we look at, we want to make sure that we create a book your ideal customer will literally stop on and they will decide to buy. That's the goal. Stop the traffic. We also incorporate in this, I will not bore you, but there's obviously a lot here. We incorporate all the back end elements, right? So the back end elements is basically everything that the algorithm needs to understand and promote your book. This happens right here in month 2 and pulling into month 3. In month 3, we focus on positioning your book correctly. So here's where we finalize the manuscript, any images, the lead magnet, right? How are we attracting the customer? Worksheets and A+ content. A+ content is what makes your listing look beautiful. It's what makes you look like a pro that you already are. But we do that on Amazon. We want to make sure that when people stop on our listing, they are wowed. So this will include other things like editorial reviews and things like this. We utilize your knowledge, your expertise, and your contacts even to help us with this. We begin to organize our review team. Remember that the goal is over 100 reviews. So we start to do that here in month 3. And then we began to organize the marketing strategy, the podcasts, editorial reviews, magazines, whatever other things. There are industry specific magazines, right? There are things that you can do that are within your industry. So we organize those things because those only add, they're like a cherry on top. They just look good. They make you look very credible to your peer group. And outside of that peer group, you start to get known because of what the book has generated. Reviews and marketing, honestly, is the backbone, right? So this is where we focus a lot of our energy because that is the backbone of a successful book on Amazon. It is what makes Amazon love your book and want to push it to your existing clients. And then in month 4 is where we focus on the launch and post-launch. Post-launch, people don't even know what that is. They don't do it. We focus on making your book listing look phenomenal. This is something that when I go to Amazon and I look at my books, I want to be wowed. I want my customer and potential client to have the exact same experience. I want them to go, wow. Okay, this is definitely the person that I want to talk to. And this is definitely the person that I think X, Y, and Z would want to talk to. This is it. And this is the feeling that I want to generate in them when they look at my listing. We start utilizing your book marketing sites as well. So there's a lot of marketing sites where we can market your book. At the beginning, we want to generate a lot of action, right? Action, action, action. We want to stir up the algorithm so that it creates a buzz around the book. We prepare for post-launch also. Post-launch is there's some things involved where we need to make sure that people are consistently looking at the listing. There's downloads happening, there's purchases happening, there's reviews that are coming in. So that's part of post-launch. And funny enough, no one really talks about this, but that's a very important step once we've published the book. I want to just give you a sample of how a well-positioned book can become a business development tool, okay? Because this is all that we want. We want our book to do this for us. We want it to become the salesperson. Like, replace the sales pitch. I can't tell you how many times I've shown up to meetings. I've already mailed a signed, an autographed copy of my book to the meeting director and said, hey, would love for you to read chapter 1. I think it's on point for what we're going to talk about. I never ask them to read the whole book. Many of them have before I even get there. But many do read chapter 1 or they read whatever chapter I point them to. By the time I get there, the conversation is never about tell me what you do. It's about, wow, you know what? I read chapter 1 and I actually read chapter 5 because I thought it was really interesting. This is exactly what we need for my team. You're the person. I just need to figure out when can you come in? How long is the training? What do we do to prep my peeps? And what's your fee? Let that thing be a salesperson. Let it sell you. I stopped negotiating fees. So I went from charging $6,000 for my training to 12. I doubled my fee. Doubled my fee. Nobody ever asked why. I've done this in banks. I've trained in a lot of national banks. I've done this with companies like Coursera, which is an educational company, fairly big one. I believe their headquarters are in Spain, but they have offices all across North America and Brazil. I've been on panels invited by Coursera that landed me clients because of the panels and the speaking engagement. I actually was looking through some of my older sheets and I found my speaking sheet. I thought, wow, this is amazing. Like I used to do so many speaking engagements because of it. So creates such an incredible network for you. And that, my friends, is what lands you the clients. Create something really awesome too. Um, it opens doors, that you wouldn't walk into. So I've been invited to podcasts and speaking engagement because of the book. And I would show up with 3 boxes of my book and sell them there for $15. $15 signed autograph copy. I wouldn't have gotten through those doors. I actually got speaking engagement in other languages, so I had to practice for those quite a bit, but it opens doors you generally would not walk through. The other thing that it does is actually fuels your content. So I post on LinkedIn a lot. I post stories, I post funny things. I have a personality. I like to joke around. I'm pretty confident in what I do and who I am. So sometimes I'll say something that, will get me comments, but it's done for a reason. It gives me a lot of content. I can turn my chapters into posts, into emails, into talks, right? In fact, I'll show you my speaking sheet. I will show you because it was so cool, the kind of training that I used to do. So I'll show you that in a minute. It builds a referral engine. So your network hands you people, basically. They hand your book. I've had a client that handed my book to another person who ended up becoming a client. So this happens quite a bit. This happens quite a bit. And then it scales your expertise, right? You explain your framework once and you do not do it again on every single call. You just send your book. You can send it directly from Amazon, or you can send it from your home autographed. It is completely the coolest thing. The other thing that I want to show you, let me show you this because I thought this was so cool. Because when you look through your stuff and you find things and you're like, wow, I can't believe that this was my experience. But I found this a while back. So, best-selling author, thought leader, motivational speaker. And then, all my little testimonials. This is a sheet that I used to send out to all of my clients. But then I looked at this number and I thought, wow, 14,000 workshops. I trained over 50,000 professionals worldwide. But the funny thing that is in the last 4 years, I trained close to 20,000 people just in the last 4 years. So imagine. And were some of my trainings that I used to do, some of my speaking topics. So fearless leaders, I did a lot of talks for women, especially for women. How to use empathy, as a superpower, living on purpose. So building extraordinary lives, resilience, state of mind. And it's just a breakdown of, what I did and how I did it. And then I'm a certified business coach. So of course have to, give them a little bit of background of who I am, what I did, but I did keynotes in English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Polish. How cool is that? I thought it was pretty cool. I was like, whoa, I found this sheet. This is amazing. But I want to show you something else because I think sometimes we get so boxed in also just, we think about Amazon. Amazon is an amazing tool for us to publish. And let me tell you, Amazon is the place where I will publish. But I was looking at this just the other day and I thought, how cool is this? And I thought I'll share it with you because it's, sometimes you get ideas. But look, this is another platform where I sell books, okay? This is called Ingram Spark. This is just another platform. At some point, I was famous in Japan. Don't ask me how, but my books were famous in Japan. I was selling like hotcakes in Japan. And then I have clients now in Australia. I have clients in Malaysia. I have clients in Germany, United Kingdom, Spain, of course, Canada, US, right? So that's the usual marketplace. But it's so fun to know that your book can be literally international and you can sell in every language. Like just name the language. In fact, some of the best languages are German and French and Spanish. because Portuguese is you really have to know people in Brazil, right? Or wherever it is that you're selling. But man, there is no end. Literally, there's no stopping what you can do. Um, okay. Yes, Maggie, I will definitely I will probably most likely send out a recording. Okay. So Sylvia, that's cool. Yeah, Sylvia, so I is it Sylvia or Sylvia? I'm mispronouncing it. I'm sorry. And you can go ahead and take yourself off mute if you want to ask a question. You said how? Sylvia, let me know. What was your question?
I forgot because you've gone on to the sheet and it was so interesting that I got completely lost there. I can't remember what I was
Oh,
asking
no
now,
worries.
but
It was something to do
yes,
with
it's
a
still
sheep. I love it. I love it when you get so into it that you forget your question. Come on, that's a best case scenario. I love it. What questions do you all have? Any questions? Where are you at? Do you have books? Are you in process? Are you just kind of like, wow, this is a cool idea. How do I do it? Where's everyone at? You can put it in the chat or you can just, I don't know, take yourself off mute, let me know. There's no way that you guys don't have questions. Come on. Come on. You're here for a reason. Why are you here? Tell me. What were you hoping to get? Book in progress? Amazing. How far are you in progress? Where are you at? Is it at the tune? At the ton? Man, I'm probably killing your name right now. Okay, your book will be out in December. So you're already like, who are you publishing it by yourself? Are you publishing it with like a publisher? You guys can speak to us. No, it's not a problem. You just unmute your line. That way we can have an actual conversation. I'm gonna put for anyone who would like to book a call, uh, you can absolutely do it. If you want to have a further conversation, I'm gonna put my link here. But I'm behind the curve. I've been thinking of a book, but now realize it has to be completely different. Oh, how come? How come does it have to be different, Shanda? And why are you behind the curve? There's no such thing. Literally, I'm telling you. Jeff, you have a manuscript, need some artwork, design, cover, proofreading. Okay, cool. Give me a call. Let's talk. Book a call, Jeff. And I can put let's see if we can work together. Needs reviewing and marketing. It probably needs a lot more than that, but that's a really good start. So we can review your manuscript, can figure out, if I can help you find your topic. Like I have a program that does all this. Like depending on what you need, I work with people in group settings, one-on-ones, however you want to do it. But book a call and we can go from there. Okay, perfect. And you're a coach, yeah, Jeff? Are you lines? Are you guys able to take yourselves off mute or are you like not able to? You're a coach. What kind of coaching do you do? Like if you want to unmute and we can chat?
Yes, not easy to talk at the moment, but I can for a moment.
What kind of coaching do you do?
So I've coached over the last 20 years. I've coached people in business largely,
Okay.
women and men, and managers, executives, and have recently, over the last few years, co-developed a leadership methodology and practice, which we've written about. So that's where we're at now.
Wow. I feel like you and I are going to be friends.
Ah, great.
We have so much in common. That's cool. Yeah, book your call. Let's chit chat. Let's see what we can do to help you. And Sylvia, you're also in very similar shoes, right? You do leadership. Do you do it as a coach or a consultant? How do you do it?
And I do it just with, at the moment, within the context of performance coaching for
Okay.
business people. But we're moving over to what we want to do is to do more of the leadership practice because we've
Amazing.
got a methodology now.
Boom. Beautiful. I just feel like that would be an amazing book. Oh, there's
Hopefully, yes.
yeah, there's nothing better than than creating something so worthwhile that literally outlives you. I feel like my own royalties just on Amazon will outlive me. That's that's what I'm hoping for. Amazing.
Great.
Yeah, amazing. What's another great income, right? Like it's just sitting there and you can do two, you can do three. That's one of the things that I end up teaching is how you can turn one book into a series, right? You can do a workbook. You can do a journal. You can do so many different things. Having a series on Amazon is phenomenal. One
Okay,
book
that's
pulls,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, one book pulls off of the other and ends up making you a lot more than what you thought you would make. So, there's one thing that your book it will become, if done correctly, right? It will become royalty generating asset. It will generate royalties month over month. And then the second thing that it will do is going to give you the credibility and the authority. And then it's going to draw people into your business. So set it up. Setting it up as a lead magnet, like, is no brainer. Like you literally have to do it. Like, why wouldn't you do it that way, right?
Yeah, sure. Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Getting results from their message. Oh, I see. I fight in this field suddenly. Interesting. I think one of the things that probably we would need to work on, Chanda, is to actually solidify what it is that you do. Like, how do you help people? Because once you figure that out, the book writes itself, you know? Be amazed once you get that idea out on paper and you're finally clear, the book writes itself. Sometimes that's all that we need, right? Just a little brainstorm to figure that piece out. And so yeah, feel free if you like to book a call and figure that out. We could try. Could definitely try. And so there's so Alex is new. Alex, what do you do? Same with Lola, same with Paula. If you want to maybe put in the chat or just like take yourself off mute and let me know. Or do you consult like in one line? Are you a coach? Is there any other questions? That's amazing. That's an amazing brain. Just have to solidify your actual topic. That's not an issue. I do that all day long, every day. So book a call. Book a call, we'll go from there. Any other questions, folks? A very quiet group. About the algorithm there. I'm curious about self-publishing. Can you share more about why you mentioned more about Amazon? So, Sylvia, can you clarify your question? Can you take yourself off mute?
Sure. You've mentioned that Amazon is your number one platform that you recommend, and that we need to be very clear about how the system would structure us. Because if we don't get I think I'm trying to recall the exact phrasing as you've used, if we don't get the right
Like you mean if you don't
category.
if you don't package it properly?
Yes. So what does good look like?
So good question. So Amazon is an algorithm, right? Amazon, the moment your book goes live, right? So a lot of people put a book together and then they just put it on Amazon, like they just essentially hit publish. From that moment that your book goes live on Amazon, Amazon is beginning to, it's like a countdown. It's looking at the action around the book. It's trying to figure out what the book is about and who the book is for and how to place it in front of the right people. So in those first 2 to 3 weeks on Amazon, when there is no movement, meaning there's no reviews coming, the book kind of looks like it's stale, right? This is where you're now just losing time. The algorithm is looking at this, so no one's clicking, no one's reviewing, there's no downloads, there's no purchases, there's nothing going on. It's judging what to do with this book because the Amazon algorithm is designed to create shelf space. It wants to sell the most amount of books it can sell. That is its end goal. It's designed for that. So when you publish and your book doesn't do that, doesn't attract the attention, doesn't get the reviews in the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it's beginning to push you down the page. And that is how people end up on page 20, 30, 40, 60. When you're there, it's almost impossible to recuperate your book, to put it up to page 1 where everyone is looking, where everyone is buying. So think about it this way. The last time you went to Amazon, how many pages did you scroll to buy the thing that you were looking for? I generally always purchase what's on page 1 to 2. I never go to page 3. That's already too far because there is enough products for me on page 1 and on page 2, maybe at the top. So if I'm not going to buy off of page 1, chances are I'm not buying, and Amazon knows this. So if my book is not on page 1, I'm not seen, I'm not visible, and no one's buying. So when you publish wrong, when you publish without a system, a marketing system that works, you will 100% end up on page 3, 4, 5, 6 by the second week. That's where I come from.
Well,
Yeah.
and does it actually grow later? Like LinkedIn does very similarly. So if your first connections don't connect,
Yeah.
then it suppresses the algorithm. But then it can still go viral when America wakes up and all of a sudden they think this is an interesting topic.
Yeah.
Because it works in
It works similar. It's a different algorithm because it's not for purchases, it's not for sales, it's for visibility, right? And then when you boost your post, that, revives that post, but it works something like this. It's similar, right? It works similarly. The other thing, and so Amazon is not the only place where I sell my books, because as you saw on Ingram Spark, where I showed you that I have international sales, those are countries where maybe Amazon, is not. So for example, Australia is one of those countries where books can be very, very expensive. So people can easily get them off of Ingram Spark, and it's just cheaper and more accessible. So I don't just publish on Amazon, but the bulk of where my customers come from is Amazon, because it's 300 million people. So imagine if I only hit 0.0000001%. If I have 15 books on Amazon and each one is making 25,000 per year, that's super cool. So, this is where having a great manuscript is fantastic, but it's halfway there. The other half is the strategy, the actual packaging, and then the actual launch. Yeah, makes sense? Does that answer your question? Yeah, it's a pure algorithm. It's designed to make money off of the products that are there. And our book is a product. Paula, you're a learning and development specialist. Amazing. I've got a lot of learning and development specialists here. I was a learning and development specialist, girl. Nice. Any other things that we're curious about? We've got a few minutes. For those of you who have not seen, I put my booking link here. If you're interested in finding out whether or not we are a fit to work together and I can help you take your book to page 1, book a call. We'll go from there. Any other questions? What questions do we have? We're feeling good? Not a problem. Not a problem. Well, if there's no other questions, I can let you go. Have lunch or dinner, depending where you are. No worries, everyone. Thank you for joining. It was lovely to meet you. And I'll see you on the call. Take care, everybody.